Hey everybody, so I'm Tony from Surf Skate Science. Zion's here too. He's sitting across from me, so you'll see him in a little bit. But we have a guest today, and his name is Tim Pain. He's from Team Pain Skateparks, and so they build amazing parks all over the world, right, Tim?
Yeah.
I'll let but they're based out of Florida, which is why we love talking to them. And so I'm going to let him introduce himself a little bit to you and tell you a little bit more about Team Pain Skateparks, how long they've been doing it, and how he got started. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Tim.
Thank you. Well, I'm a really old man now, so I got started building tree houses in my backyard. And from going to job sites and picking wood up off the ground and nails off the ground, I learned basic construction techniques. So when my friends started skating around 12 years old, we kind of knew how to build ramps already. So because Florida is really flat, we had to build like everything we saw in the magazines, banks and transitions and bank to walls that we put behind, like buildings. We take like a pallet and lean it up beside the building with a sheet of plywood, or put a door up against the wall. And that's kind of how it all started. I think one thing that helped out a lot is just skateboarding has a lot to do with architecture. Like when you're looking around in the city for things that look rideable, like you're looking at different architectural elements. And that's something that like football players don't do and tennis players don't do, but there are a few sports that do that, like parkour. If you see the people that are like jumping on the walls and jumping on buildings, they're basically doing the same thing that skateboarders do. They're looking for new environments to ride. So when I was still in high school, an invention came out called a half pipe. And so this is like probably the third one that we built back in the woods. And I was probably around 17 or 18. And, this is just a bunch of us and our friends like got together behind their houses, and just every day we'd go out and build a little bit more. And this became like a pretty well-known ramp because it was so wide. Like back then ramps were only like 8 feet wide, and this ramp was 24 feet wide. So a lot of people were really excited about that. So basically, I think what helped me a lot was I always tried to help other people. I always was a person that liked to be involved with activities. And if somebody was doing something, like filming or skating or building or, working on something, I always, was wanted to be a part of that and tried to help them no matter what my capabilities were, because I thought it was really cool being a part of something than being a part of nothing. I remember my dad telling me a long time ago, don't get discouraged, like say if you're trying to earn money or you're trying to do something, and you're just sitting back trying to think about it, like, how am I going to do this? Sometimes you just have to jump in, and sometimes you just have to go. And so one time I was talking to my dad, and I'm like, Dad, this only turned out like 50% of what I thought it was going to be like, like I'm a little bit disappointed. And he was like, would you rather be part of something or part of nothing? And so I thought about that for a while, and I was like, wow, that was, like just the fact that I got to try, just the fact that I got to, get involved and try something, that was, it made me look at things a little bit different. Like there's a reason for trying, just like skateboarding. When you try a trick, you don't make your trick every time you fall down, you got to get back up. And so I think that's really cool. Like us as kids, I think that was a good foundation for us.
That's awesome. So So for as far as like skate park building, so did you go to school to learn how to build skate parks?
Oh, well, so basically, I had ADD or ADHD or one of those DDDs or something. Back when I was in school, they called it cross dominance. And so basically, I guess when I was like 8 or 9, the doctors explained it to my parents like the right half of my brain controls the right side of my body, where according for you to have good equilibrium, it has to be crossed, so you're balanced, so like the right side of your brain should control the left side of your body, and the left side of your brain should control your right side of your body. And so, now people tell me, you just got to learn to deal with it. Like nobody's going to ever be able to do surgery on you or help you in that area. So you have to just make up for your own things that you're given. You got to use your talents the best that you can with what you're given. So to me, I never looked at other people and be like, well, why am I not like them? I always looked at it like, this is what I was given. And so early on in testing, they said that I was advanced in geometry, like shapes and, angles and stuff like that. But I was terrible at reading and comprehension. And so those are just things that I remember when I was in high school, they had another test. It wasn't an SAT test. It was a job placement test. It took like 4 hours. And so at the end of the test, they gave me my results and they told me that I was going to be a bricklayer. That's like all that I could, that's the best I could be in life, was a bricklayer. So I always laugh about that one.
So then how did you get into skate park design? Is it, was it through you wanting to skateboard basically, or?
Yeah. So we had already, been skating since 12. So by the time we were 18, 19, and 20, we were really good. And we also surfed. Surfing was my first love, and skateboarding was just something to do when there wasn't waves. And that started out, like at 13 and 14. And as we started getting better, skateboarding became more fun because we were building bigger ramps and traveling all over the place. And, that was one thing that's cool, is being able to go to other towns and meet new people. And, I grew up in Orlando, so any beach that I went to was at least 50 miles. So it took at least 45 minutes, an hour to get to the beach. So one thing that we would do, and we didn't even realize it, because we would listen to the surf report and it'd be like 3 to 4 and glassy, and so the whole time you're driving to the beach, you're talking to your friends about what it's going to be like. Oh my gosh, is it going to be like that one time we went, and so in a way we were meditating, we were like preparing ourselves, to get there. And like, we were so excited when we got there and paddled out, and then sometimes we get there and be like flat, like the news reporter was wrong. And we'd paddle out anyway, just because we had driven all that way, So I think that's part of the camaraderie of kids and traveling and, getting some good friends, like if you can find some people that you look up to, some older kids to kind of hang around, that's really cool, trying to pick people that, make an impression on you as good people, and that's one thing really cool, is if those older kids let you hang around them, that means, you're in, that's something kind of special,
Yeah, for sure. So I know like here when, there weren't waves, everybody skated. And back, when I was younger, everybody would like find woods or something to build a little mini ramp or something like that. So did you guys do things like that in Orlando?
Yeah. Well, that was getting back to schooling. So one thing that I found that I really liked in school was engineering drawing and architecture. And so I took 2 years of engineering and 2 years of architecture. And ironically, those are the only classes I ever made A's and B's in. Nice. And so my journey was, I thought I was going to be an architect, you know, I thought I was going to design all these really elaborate houses and everything. And when I graduated high school, my dad was in the Home Builders Association, so he had some friends that were architects, and I went and talked to them, and I was like, so what's your, show me some of these plans that you're drawing, you know, like I want to see some of these awesome houses. And they were like, well, we normally just design a subdivision that has 5 model homes, you know, and then they build those homes throughout. And I was like, well, what's the majority of work that you do? And they said renovations, like somebody will add on a porch, you know, or somebody will. And I was like, well, what about these $1 million houses? And they're like, oh, that's just like a little tiny frame of people to get in, you know. And then when I went to college, it was super hard for me, you know. So basically I just kind of dropped out because of the payoff wasn't there, you know, to put that much time and effort into being an architect. You know, it didn't make sense for me. So I was building houses at the time, framing houses, and that was so much fun being outside. And you know, we would put the wood on the house, you know, like say if you got a concrete block house, we would go in and frame all the inside walls and build the second story and put the trusses on and plywood it and everything. So we were really taking the house, you know, and looking at the plans and making it a house. So that was always kind of cool. And what was nice is, you know, like finish carpenters have to be real careful. You know, you can't leave a hammer mark, and you have to have little tiny nails. Well, with framing houses, you're called what's a rough carpenter, because you're making the rough shape for people, and they come in and stucco it or put the final siding on and stuff. So everything we did was, you know, forceful and strong, you know, and, you know, powerful, you know. We weren't like the little Finnish guys that came in, were like, ting, 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 with a hammer, you know. We had like these big nail guns, you know, big cranes lifting stuff up in the roof and stuff. So that was really cool. And so what helped me was just what we were doing, because traveling around skateboarding. So that was my way of making money, you know, working and building houses. You know, I met Paul Schmidt, which he was a designer of skateboard decks over in St. Petersburg. And because in my house had ramps in the backyard all the time, he would bring his team through town. And he wanted to do a couple of demonstrations, like in Atlanta and stuff like that. And he asked me to come along to help build the ramps there. And I thought that was fun. I did it for free. You know, I just tagged along with them. And then, you know, at the end of the job, he'd give me some money. I'd be like, you know, like he got me the hotel room. He gave me gas money already. And then he's trying to pay me like $300 or something. I'm like, dude, man, this is fun. And he's like, this is hard as heck for us because we don't really know what we're doing, you know. And because, you know, I was used to working with wood, and I was strong enough, you know, and healthy enough, you know, I could outwork all those guys really easy. And so like really quickly, I was telling them what to do. Yeah. So that was fun.
Awesome. So that was your first kind of like skate park job, working with.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And so when Paul Schmidt moved out to California, you know, he was expanding his company and got asked to come out to California. That's where Frank Hawk asked him, that's Tony Hawk's dad, asked him to build some ramps for some arena events. And he's like, oh my God, I'm too busy. You got to call Team Pain to do that. And so, you know, Tony Hawk's dad's calling me to build the first National Skateboard Association indoor contest in Mobile, Alabama. So probably at about 23 or 24, you know, I was making one of my first trips, getting paid out of town, you know, to go to Mobile, Alabama. And we built the ramp inside of a B-52 bomber hangar where they built B-52 airplanes. And it's where they filmed the final scenes of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where all the alien crafts were coming in, and they had all the computers and everything set up in that big building. So, well, they were outdoors, but because of the backdrop, you know, they could make it look like the sky and stuff. but that was really cool, you know. So we had that whole base to ourselves, and we had the gate key, and we could just drive in and swipe the card and get on the base. And you know, all the people are just waiting, you know, the guards with the guns and everything. And so we'd have this whole hangar to ourselves, and it was huge, you know. I mean, like you could literally pull two B-52 bombers into the doors at the same time. And so we had that whole building to ourselves, and we would just stay there till like 4 a.m. skateboarding, you know. So that was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. So
Yeah. So I think.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I have to say that it wasn't like somebody, you know. I mean, this was fun. I mean, this was like I got paid to do something that was really playing. So I can't emphasize enough that, like, do what you like. If there's something that you like to do, get around other people that like to do that and share your experiences, you know. You know, don't be inhibited. Don't be afraid to talk about things. Don't be afraid to talk about failures. Don't be afraid to talk about insecurities. Because we're all people, you know, we're all vulnerable, we're all insecure, and we all need reinforcement. So it's important to, you know, to kind of vet yourself, or kind of weigh your thoughts and feelings out instead of keeping them inside. You know, you want to share those feelings with other people, so you can try and realize where you're going, and, you know, try and make valued decisions.
For sure. And then yeah, so I mean, yeah, that's why I keep trying to tell them is like to do what you're passionate about, because a lot of times, especially when you're homeschooling, which is great, you can explore anything you want as far as education. So it's pretty awesome. So then, like, so you go from like wood to building with concrete eventually. So was that a huge learning obstacle to learn how to build with concrete?
Well, I mean, I was lucky enough when it got slow, you know, helping my friends build pools and stuff. So I know how to rebar and dig and steel pools. You know, so that was a lot of fun. So yeah, basically I already kind of understood what was happening.
Yeah.
And so the trend went from, you know, indoor wooden skate parks to city finally building skate parks. So that was a big transition. So you know, just to take an example, like skateboarding isn't all about just skateboarding. You know, like there's photographers and videographers and people that write stories and magazines. And so I think that's one thing that's so cool about skateboarding is, you know, like Atiba Jefferson, you know, he was a guy I was reading about the other day. You know, he became a famous photographer through skateboarding, you know. So you know, he was a skateboarder first, and just got realized, you know, like everybody started looking at his photography, and he started growing. And you know, now he's, you know, this famous photographer that, you know, goes around and takes all kinds of famous photos. And that's what he learned through skateboarding. And the same thing happens with, you know, videographers, you know, like all my friends that were involved, you know, with the television production Jackass, they were all skateboarders and got, you know, involved with MTV. And so, you know, it's just amazing, you know, the connections that you can make through skateboarding. And one of those connections is your environment, you know, the buildings and the architecture and the things that you're seeing. So I think that that's one thing cool is, you know, if you take your designs and actually try and build them, you know, so you can test what your thoughts are, you know, because you can design stuff on paper all day long, but until you actually try and ride what you're building, you don't know if what you really did was correct or not. So that would be the next challenge, is actually building what you designed.
So I guess that's probably a perfect segue, because one of the students, Eden, asked, "What's your favorite skate obstacle to make, to build?"
I mean, China banks are a lot of fun, you know, because they're usually not very tall. They're like 3 feet tall, and it's a transition to bank, so it's real easy to ride. And you can do tricks on it, you know, there's a lot of tricks you can do on it because it's got flat. And, you know, little small quarter pipe, driveway quarter pipes are a lot of fun to ride.
What's your favorite skate park that you built so far? Out of all the ones that you got to build, what has been your favorite project?
Well, I think there's bits and pieces of every park that stand out, but I think like Arvada Skate Park in Colorado is like a really good one because it's so big and has so much stuff to ride.
Zion just said he loves riding that park.
That's one of my favorite skate parks for sure.
Yeah, he's over here. He said one of his favorites.
Yeah, the thing that was messed up though is we're supposed to be rebuilding the Charleston Hangar Bowl. The main pool was supposed to be the Charleston Hangar Pool. And so, you know, the guys on site, they made it a foot taller, which kind of blew all the dimensions out, you know? So that's the only thing that's a little bit disappointing for me is, you know, that could have turned out, that would have been the everything park, you know? But that's, I don't know if you guys can see it, but that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Well, it's huge. It's
no, I said the picture small, but yeah, it's a huge park. That's awesome.
Little, like, potato chip thing. I don't know what it's called, but like you onto it. It's
yeah.
Like
yeah. So that comes with working together with people too, you know. So my friend Jeff Hammond designed this piece, and well, really, I first designed it in MTV Sports and Music Festival, and what I did was I took a wooden bowl that was from a previous job and cut it down and made it like a potato chip, you know, like lying on the ground. And so that was the one thing, we had to kick her into the potato chip into a bank. And so, you know, he thought about standing it up so it went up to vert. So originally it was just a bowl corner lying on the ground, you know, 10 years before this. And then Jeff came up with the idea of, you know, making it have vertical on it. So yeah, that's why it helps to have a team, you know, it helps to have people to bounce ideas back and forth on. So, you know, you as being, you know, young designers, you know, don't be afraid to share your designs with your friends and, you know, see what they like about them and don't like about them.
It's a little bit like orange peel.
kind of.
Yeah. So that's crazy. That's awesome. And then I guess, let's see, Eden wrote, what's the hardest part when making a skate park? So yeah, so I was going to ask you, what's your favorite thing about building skate parks? And I think you kind of went into it that you have fun. It's, you know, it's enjoyable. But, and then what's the hardest part? So if you want to give us two things.
It's fun when you're in shape, you know, like if you're used to the hot weather and you're used to being outside, you know, it's fun, but it can be very difficult, you know, if you're not physically fit. So yeah, it is important, you know, to drink a lot of water and, you know, be healthy and, you know, get exercise and be outside. So it would be impossible for somebody that pretty much just, you know, works on the computer all day for, you know, a year or two and then go outside and try and build a skate park. It would be really difficult for them, you know, because it is physical. So try and get outside every day and play for sure.
And then did anybody else have any questions that you wanted to ask? Well, go ahead. Well, go ahead. You can unmute yourself.
What was the highest drop-in you've made?
Well, I built like the first 10 mega ramps. So this is actually one that I had pulled up. This is like one of the very first ones here. This is Danny Way's design from about 25 years ago. And we built this out at Browns Air Force Base. And so the drop-in was 35 feet tall. Can you see the drawing?
Yeah.
So this is how I had to draw it. You know, to get all the measurements correct. And so from the side, it had a 20-foot roll-in, a 25-foot, a 30-foot, and a 35-foot. And so this is kind of my design to get my material list, my layout for the ramp. And so I guess some of the bigger roll-ins that I built were like 70 feet tall. But
how many stories is 70 feet tall? That's crazy.
that would be like 10.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, so basically, you know, we did all the first ones that were in wood, and then when they wanted to build them out of scaffolding, we just didn't really want to do that anymore, because then it'd be like, you got to wear hard hats and everything's all safety and, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars. So yeah, it's totally different, you know, what they're doing today than what we did. I mean, the stuff we did was built out of wood. And, you know, here's a picture, and I don't know why these aren't coming in full screen. You know, like where the ramp that we built was on the cover of Skateboard magazine. That's Mike McGill's old ramp. Yeah, so, you know, so something that we built actually made it on a magazine cover. So it just shows you the different people that are involved with what you do, you know.
So yeah, so what, you know, speaking about that, so you've won a whole bunch of awards too as well for designing parks. So so yeah, tell us a little bit about, you know, so you started just building some ramps, you know, for demos, and then now how your company's gone from there, you know, from the beginning to now. Kind of share with us what that's like.
Yeah, well, you know, it's hard to quantify like the awards, because the awards were usually given, you know, a year or two after you had done the project. So it was never like immediate gratification. So whenever I got an award, you know, it was for something that I'd done like, you know, 1, 2, 3, 5 years ago. So it'd be, you know, it's not like instant gratification. Like, so it never really struck me, you know, it's like, oh, wow, I got an award, because it'd be so, you know, random, you know, like how often, you know, like the rewards just, it wasn't like, you know, right when you finish the park, like, yeah, that's the best ever, you know. So it didn't have that excitement, you know. So receiving awards was always kind of like secondary. I did get into the Florida Skateboard Hall of Fame, you know, just being recognized for contributing to Florida history. You know, got awards, all kinds of awards of excellence for stuff, you know. And
Brigade one's awesome.
what?
The Bones Brigade one's awesome. I love that one.
Thank you. And so that was basically, you know, from building the animal chin ramp. And I really appreciated getting that one, because we got that one a year after we built the ramp, you know, when the film came out, and the film was all, you know, the best thing ever. That showed up in the mail one day, and I was like, wow, that's really cool, you know, because, you know, it didn't look normal. That was all hand done. But yeah, I mean, if you guys have heard of the animal chin ramp, basically, you know, I can show you like, and this is one thing cool too, is like the program that I like to use to draw is a free program. It's called Sketchup, and I use the paid for version, you know, because I can import and export AutoCAD drawings. But this is a free program that you can just go to sketchup.com and download this program. And so it's really user friendly. It's really easy to use. It's a lot better than AutoCAD, you know, so you can just drag and pull stuff, you know. So, you know, basically like to just show you real quick how you make a ramp. Well, this is like some of the stuff I do. Like I figure out the angles and the transitions. Like this is the top of the mini ramp on top of the deck. But like if I was gonna make you know, just like a quarter pipe in the driveway, I'd start out with a box, you know, and then I'd just draw a circle on it. Now I'm not really worrying about measurements at this point, you know. But this is how easy you can build a quarter pipe, you know, out of this drawing. So like, here's your quarter pipe. So like in any other program, it's so hard to do that, you know, like you can't just draw like that. In AutoCAD, you have to know all the measurements to make a line. So you have to type in radius, arc, 8 foot, you know, and then it would pop that in. So this was just real, you know, user friendly. And so what's cool too is they have online tutorials, you know, so there's really good, you know, instructions how to use the program online. But that's one thing that I liked about it too, is like, if you wanted to get creative, you know, you could just scale stuff and just start making this real weird stuff, you know. So you could start out with a shape and just morph it, you know. And so we've actually used that, like blending corners in together, like where you're going from a transition to a bank, you know, so you'd have to blend it in together. So all that stuff's super beneficial. So yeah, that's Sketchup. And like I said, we use a pro version, but the free version does everything that this does except for imports and exports AutoCAD documents. But what's cool too with this program is you can go into your model info and you go into what's called the 3D warehouse. And I hope to God I don't have to log in, because it wants to make you log in every time. But in 3D warehouse, you can type in like skate ramp, and you know, probably somebody's drawn one, you know. So you can pull up like these models that are already done, and a lot of them are really rudimentary, you know. But you could just, you know, for you kids that are learning and trying to figure out measurements and stuff, you know, like there's a little bit more complex stuff, but you could just say like, you're going to click on this and you download it and you can put it right into your model. So like here's the element that somebody else drew, and you know, you could just draw it into the model. Now it's all one element. See how the box is around it? So then, you know, they've got all kinds of measuring tools, you know, like you can measure how high everything is and stuff. So, you know, it tells you in your box down here, you know, see down the bottom, it says it's like 3 foot right down here, if you guys can see that. So that's how you can measure. You can cut stuff apart, you know, like, it's super easy to work with.
So what we'll do is, yeah, Zion uses SketchUp sometimes too. We'll send the link to SketchUp for all of you, and a couple of videos so you can learn how to do it and work on it at home. So awesome. So is there, like, I guess we're gonna like wrap up quick. Does anybody else have any questions? I guess my last question for you, Tim, would be, so besides, you know, like working in SketchUp and the software and everything that they can use, do you have any like must-do tips when you're designing a skate park for the kids?
Hold on a second.
No problem.
Okay, say that again.
Do you have any like really important tips for the kids when they're designing their first skate parks?
Oh, just experiment, you know, try and think of something fun, you know, something that you like, and just take a chance. It's always cool to do something different. This is like where we built Bob Burnquist jumping into the Grand Canyon. Here's just like a little picture. And this is kind of, I mean, this is video that I shot. You know, we all had, and this is before camera phones and stuff like that. But like, just yeah. So that's one thing that's cool. Is like, kids, don't ever throw your old stuff away, you know, like your old drawings and stuff that you know, like save all that stuff, you know, because 20 years from now, you'll probably really want that someday, you know.
That's awesome. Well, we so appreciate you jumping on the call with us, and yeah, and we'll send everybody